Hello, everybody. Welcome to Board Game Design Time. And on this episode, we're going to do a board game pitch fight. Matt is going to give me a challenge, and I'm going to design a game on the fly, on the spot, based on the challenge that he is giving me. So, for this particular board game pitch fight, we've decided that Matt is going to give me the name of an NFL team, and I'm going to use that name to create a game on the spot. Does that sound fair, Matt?
Sounds perfectly fair.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Matt, what is the team that I'm going to base my game off of?
Took a lot of hard thought, but I think we should design a game based on the Miami Dolphins. Now, keep in mind, it cannot be sports related or football related in any way.
Right. Can't be a sports game. Okay, so dolphins obviously are going to be involved. The actual creatures, the sea life. Uh, yeah. So I'm going to say this game is about a group of dolphins who have discovered Atlantis, discovered the lost city of Atlantis underneath the water, and there's all sorts of magical artifacts that these dolphins are uncovering. This is it a school of dolphins?
Yeah, what is a
A herd?
dolphin?
I
It
think it's
might be a school, but a school's like fish.
I think it's like a herd of dolphins. I want to say
Could be.
like a flight of dolphins. Okay, so we're gonna say this
Just call
it's gonna be called dolphin flight actually.
a s- Ooh, dolphin flight.
Yeah. So there's all these dolphins, and they found this lost city of Atlantis, all this magical items in there. I'm gonna make it sort of like a dungeon crawl type of vibe, except instead of being like adventurers going through like searching the ruins of an ancient like a dwarven kingdom, you are dolphins searching the ruins of lost Atlantis, and your goal is to collect the most magical items.
Hmm.
For some reason, I'm drawn towards cards, and so I want this to be a sort of card game. Uh, but I do like the exploration of your classic dungeon crawl board games. To those who aren't familiar, there's a whole genre of games like Hero Quest, Warhammer Quest. There's Myth. There's tons of games in this genre, but basically you randomize a dungeon and move through it collecting loot. So in this game, you're going to have a deck of cards, and the cards are going to be the Atlantis cards. You're going to be flipping them over from the deck as you explore, and they're going to show you kind of the paths that you can go as they're laid out on the table there. You following along so far, Matt?
Yep,
Okay.
definitely. Now, will there be unique dolphins within the flight
Yeah,
that players can choose from?
yeah. So let's have the players. The players are should they be working cooperatively, or are they competing dolphins?
Ooh. Now, it would make sense for them to work cooperatively, but let's throw another little wrench in there. Why would they be working against each other?
All right, so maybe they're all part of different like dolphin tribes, and there's like a
Okay.
whole undersea kind of thing going on, like an undersea war, and these dolphins are uh, had discovered Atlantis, and now the word has gotten out, and so there's all these creatures that are rushing to Atlantis to claim its riches. Maybe they're not even all dolphins. Maybe there's some dolphins, and then there's like some squid folk and some sharks.
Sharks.
Yeah, sharks, obviously, that would be great. So I think it should be competitive. And I like the idea of
Okay.
having a dungeon crawl that is competitive. So perhaps you have, the cards that you're flipping over while you're exploring Atlantis. Perhaps each player has their own deck of exploration cards. However, there are cards that are matching. So when you flip over a matching card as someone else in their deck, that means that your paths have crossed in these ruins. So you can all enter from
Oh,
like
I
different
like that.
areas, but eventually you're going to meet in the middle somewhere. Now, there is the
Hmm.
issue there, and this is something that happens with, board game design in general, is that how would that actually work in practice? Because if we're laying out cards and each player has their own kind of tableau and their cards that are going together, now all of a sudden you flip over the same room that I'm in. Uh, how do we sort of combine those cards to keep the map all in a cohesive array. It could be abstracted. Perhaps the exploration is abstracted, and so you don't actually have like dolphin minis on a board or something like that. You're just kind of going through your exploration deck.
Right.
Uh, that could be a thing.
Now, how would conflict work if you didn't meet someone that you wanted to have a conflict with, like either steal one of their artifacts or reduce their health or stall them for a turn or whatever you would do? What component or mechanic would you use there?
Well, let's see. So we already have cards in the exploration deck. Perhaps we have a another group of cards, because the first thing that I think about is dice, but dice isn't all like all these games have
Right.
basic dice mechanics, and that's possible. Like I'm not going to rule that out, uh, but I like the idea of doing some sort of like card, maybe trick taking system where you have a hand of cards and you're trying to outwit your opponent. Maybe it's in certain rooms like the highest card does well. In other areas, maybe the lowest card does well, um, or perhaps it's
Interesting.
perhaps it's based on like some sort of scenario that's laid out in the beginning of the game. I guess the question would be: are we going for like quantity of artifacts, or should there be one core artifact that our players are searching for? Let's give a scenario then. Let's basically say that um, each scenario there's a different like mission. Okay, so then you can kind of have like before the game starts, you read off the mission, and that's going to be your goal for the game. And so in some missions, it might be go find this artifact and retrieve it and get out alive. In other missions, it might be lead this team of scientists uh, into Atlantis and protect them from the other teammates. So maybe like that's asymmetrical goals or something like that. And then the conflict mechanic can be card based. So while you're going through, like let's say we come across, I don't know, a magical trident or something like that. That card, if you find that, can be added into your deck and like a deck building game where you can then use that
Hmm.
later in the game. So your deck is you're kind of gaining these artifacts into your deck, but there's also some sort of simple like rock paper scissors card based mechanic or something for the conflict. So there's a little bit of randomness because you don't always have scissors in your hand, and we're not using literal scissors, but whatever the scissors might be in this game,
Right.
you don't always have that in your hand, and your opponents have to kind of try to figure out what you're holding and what their best play is. I like that a little bit better than just a straight up random draw or a straight up random roll. So I think what you have is I think you have your action deck, and that's based on whatever sea creature you are. You have your own action deck. As you're going through, you're adding to your action deck by putting in artifacts into it. Uh, but it's a relatively simple deck. Like I said, maybe there's like three types, or you can even do rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock, and have like five types of plays that you can do. Maybe there's like a defensive action, attack action, sneak, outwit or something like that. So maybe
Hmm.
the dolphins are really good at like outwitting, but the sharks are really good at attacking, and the octopus are really good at sneaking or running away or something like that. So you kind of know what your opponent is good at, and that can kind of influence what you're going to play. And then there is another deck, and I'm thinking this other deck, the exploration deck, should be like larger cards. So maybe it's not like a huge deck of like 60. Maybe there's like 20 exploration cards per player or something like that. You'd play the exploration cards onto the board like you're playing tiles, and they would form a sort of a map as you're exploring. And then eventually, uh, if you flip over the same tile as someone else or the same card as someone else, then you make the maps converge, and now you've discovered that area of the map, and you kind of have your paths have crossed. And then in this
Right.
case, maybe you do have some sort of like mini or token that is your character as you're exploring these various areas. And then as far as other components go, like I don't think you need a board per se, because you're kind of creating the board. You might want other like chits or counters to be act as like your health and stuff like that. But overall, I think that's like a pretty solid core of the game. I think the end
Yeah.
game of each session is going to be a little bit different because you're going to have like I guess, a third deck that's going to have your missions or your scenarios. But maybe those are sort of dealt out randomly to everyone, so everyone has their own kind of like secret mission that they're doing or something.
Yeah, I think that the actual mission or the overall, everybody should have the same mission, but I always like secret objectives.
Yeah.
So everybody has their own like separate missions that will gain them extra points or however they win the game or an extra item that would give them access to the end game or
Yeah, and it might even be cool to have some sort of like have the missions randomized and then put into your exploration deck so you're not quite sure when you're going to like learn about your side mission. Maybe going into the game you don't have it, but you
oh,
can the more you explore, the more missions you can uncover as well. The one other thing in these dungeon crawl games though is they usually have like NPCs or monsters that you can
mhm.
fight against. So perhaps you would need your standard like encounter deck as well, because a lot of these games you'll like find a new room and then you flip over a random encounter and that could be three goblins or something like that. In this game it might be something different, but that could also be something that would be worked in. I'm really on a card kick, so I think that this game is mostly cards because of that. But I don't know. Coming from Miami Dolphins, I think that that's like not a bad game design idea.
No, not at all.
So that's my game. I think I'm going to call it Dolphins, and I think it's probably about as good as I could have expected. Using Miami Dolphins as a prompt. What do you think, Matt? Would you play that?
I would actually because I love those dungeon crawl games. I mean,
Yeah. You also love sea creatures, which is probably why
I
you gave
do
me Dolphins.
a lot.
Okay.
That sounded creepy. A lot. I
Yeah.
like sea creatures a lot.
Okay, you can stop now. Uh, like I said at the top, though, we're going to pay it forward. So, what we would like to do is challenge you, the viewer. Earlier this week, we had a great comment on our YouTube page from Skylar Guymond, and he said, hey, it would be really cool if you gave design challenges to your viewers to sort of shake things up, maybe get them out of the rut of the game that they're designing right now, or just get them off their butts and designing the game for the first time. And we thought that was a great idea. So, what we're going to do is give you viewers the name of an NFL team, right, Matt? Same
Right?
challenge?
Yeah.
Okay. The name of an NFL team, and we're going to challenge you to design the best game that you can with that team name. So, should I pick this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I'm going to go to the NFC because we did AFC.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go with one of the teams that I dislike the most, the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, the Green Bay Packers. So the challenge is for you to design a game. It can be just like a paragraph or whatever, a pitch. Leave it in the comments down below. Or if you feel like you want to email it to us, you can email us at 1000xp@gmail.com. And we'll take the best submissions, read them on the show, and yeah, encourage you guys to get started with that. Of course, if you want to see that episode and all the future episodes, you can go down below and subscribe. And we come out with shows every week. Our whole goal is to get you excited about designing games, and that's what we're excited about. So we hope to pass that on to you. Anyways, without any further ado, I think that's going to be the end of this episode. Dolphins coming to a store near you, 2018 ish.
No pack, no. No pack, no.
What is that the Packers thing?
They say go pack, go, but
Oh, okay, there you go. All right, until next time, bye bye.